Every single time you tap your phone, you're leaving a digital footprint. But what if that footprint could actually help grow a real forest? We're about to dive into this really fascinating and, yeah, sometimes kind of dangerous link between our screens and our planet and ask the big question, can technology truly help build a greener world? So let's just start with that big idea. Could an app on your phone actually plant a real forest? I mean, does it sound a little like science fiction to you? Can our clicks, our taps, all that stuff we do online, can it translate into real, meaningful change for the environment? Well, the answer, as you're about to see, is complicated. It's a mix of yes, no, and a whole lot of it depends. Okay, so to really get into this, we have to start with this key concept. It's called digital environmental poverty. Now, this isn't just about, not having a phone or forgetting to recycle. It's way deeper than that. Think of it as a brand new kind of inequality, a situation where a lack of digital skills or even just environmental know-how can literally lock people out of building a sustainable future. All right, to really unpack this whole thing, we're going to look at it on 3 different levels. They're all connected, of course. We're going to start small with the micro level. That's you, me, the individual. Then we'll zoom out a bit to the meso level. That's all the platforms and apps we use. And finally, we'll go all the way out to the macro level, the big picture stuff like government policies and the systems that run everything. First up, the micro level. This is all about our personal choices and, more importantly, the subtle, often invisible forces that guide our behavior when we're online. So, the main tool they use here is something called digital nudging. It's this idea from behavioral economics where the design of an app or a website gently nudges you towards certain choices. It's not forcing you, it's more like a helpful suggestion that makes one option feel easier than the others. So, what do these nudges actually look like in the wild? Well, there are a few different kinds. First, you've got priming. This could be something as simple as seeing a picture of a beautiful forest right before you start online shopping. It just kind of plants a green idea in your head. Then there are green defaults, which are super powerful. This is when an online store automatically shows you the sustainable products first. You can still choose something else, but the easy option is the green one. And finally, there's positive framing. This is all about showing you the win, like an app telling you, hey, this energy-efficient fridge will save you X amount of money over the year. But here's the thing, nudging isn't some magic solution. The promise is great. It makes eco-friendly choices feel effortless. But the peril? Well, the effect is often just short-term. Let's be honest, if a less green option is way cheaper or just more convenient, that little nudge is probably going to lose the battle. It might change what we do in the moment, but it doesn't always change how we think. So really, when you boil it all down at this micro level, it comes back to you. Your own awareness, your personal motivation, and your skill in navigating the digital world, that's what decides if a simple nudge becomes a real, lasting habit. Okay, let's zoom out to that next level, the meso level. This is where things get really interesting, because this is where companies, platforms, and all these new technologies are creating entirely new ways for us to interact with the environment. For our first case study, we're looking at a huge one from China, Alipay Ant Forest. It's basically a little game built right inside one of the country's biggest payment apps. The whole idea is just brilliantly simple. You do something green, like taking the bus or biking to work, and you get these green energy points. You then use those points in the app to grow your own little virtual tree. And here's the magic part. Once your digital tree is fully grown, the company and its partners go out and plant a real tree in an area that needs it. So you're probably wondering, does this actually work? Well, the scale is just mind-blowing. Get this, between 2016 and 2021, the people using this one single app were responsible for planting, wait for it, over 326 million real trees. 326 million. That is just incredible. It's actually the biggest private sector tree planting project in all of China. But this is where you see the big trade-off. On the one hand, you've got this incredible user engagement, you've got proven land restoration, you've even got green jobs being created. But on the other hand, for this to work, the app has to collect a ton of personal data about your daily life, which raises some serious privacy flags. And it makes you wonder, are people really motivated by saving the planet? Or are they just trying to win the game? All right, now for something totally different. Let's talk about Single Earth. This is a company that's using cutting-edge tech like blockchain and AI to put a direct monetary value on nature and then pay people to protect it. So here's how it works.
Single Earth creates what they call a digital twin of a real forest. It's like a live, data-rich digital copy that's always being updated by AI. Then they pay landowners to keep that forest standing, not to cut it down. For every 100 kilograms of CO2 their forest soaks up, the landowner gets one tradable crypto token called a merit.
The potential here is pretty wild. It creates a direct financial reason to conserve nature, and the blockchain part means everything is transparent. But the risks are just as big. This is a totally unregulated market, so speculation could easily become more important than the public good. And you have to ask, is there a danger in turning a beautiful, complex ecosystem into just another commodity? What does that mean for local communities who actually depend on that land?
Okay, it's time to zoom all the way out to the macro level. This is where we see how huge government policies and national goals can create the entire environment that individuals and platforms operate in. And the perfect example here is China's national concept of an ecological civilization.
Now, this didn't just happen overnight. The idea of an ecological civilization was first talked about way back in 2007. By 2015, it was a central part of the government's reform plans, and in 2018, they actually wrote it into the national constitution. This is a very deliberate, long-term, state-driven vision.
This quote really gets to the heart of the problem with this top-down approach. On the one hand, yes, it can be incredibly effective. It can push through massive environmental rules quickly. But that same power can be really harmful if it just steamrolls the needs of vulnerable people who depend on those same natural resources for their survival. So you see this powerful push and pull. A strong government can make huge green policies happen and give space for innovations like ant forests to thrive. But that same top-down control can really limit public input. And here's the part that gets a little scary. It raises real concerns that these same technologies could be used for surveillance and social control, potentially tying your green actions into something like the social credit system. Phew, okay. So we've looked at the micro, the meso, and the macro. Now let's pull it all back together and see how all these different pieces of the puzzle actually fit. The big takeaway here is that no single level has the answer. Not the individual, not the platform, not the government. Real, meaningful change can only happen when all these gears are turning together. You need governments to set smart rules. You need platforms to build tools that are ethical and actually work. And you need users, people like us, to have the skills and the awareness to use them wisely. It's all about finding that crucial balance between innovation from the private sector and oversight from the public. And all of this leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. As technology and the climate crisis become more and more tangled up, who really holds the power in the end? Is it us, the individual user? Is it the massive tech platforms that shape our choices? Or is it the state, the government that sets the rules for everyone? The answer to that question is really going to define what our future looks like.